Here is Robin Sobek. Also today you can expect a very interesting interview. If you saw, by the way, the movie Checkmate Men, then even more interesting. Prior to starting, I'd like to thank the few people who support me on herohero.co, especially Robin Sobek. Your support means a lot. Thank you. Certainly, the rest of you can remain on the YouTube channel. Ensure to subscribe so you don't miss any content. So, let's get to it. Entrepreneur Zenek Kubik arrived today. Hello.
Hello, hello.
By the way, Zden in Checkmate Man is my favorite film, so I will logically inquire, what is yours?
It is not my favorite movie, and the reason for that is because it was supposed to be something else entirely, which is why it falls short of my expectations. But that's such a distant past for me that I don't really care anymore. But I wouldn't say it's my favorite movie, but it's interesting that some effect of that movie started to manifest for me many years later. A complete flop in cinemas, 70,000 people, which didn't even cover the costs of advertising. And it just clicked. Then I uploaded it to YouTube without any charge, and I stated that anyone has the freedom to upload it to YouTube without any charge because that movie is my property. And suddenly 1 million people started watching it, and 2 million people, and I couldn't even keep up with the copies because all those channels that were copying the movies were putting their copies there. And I didn't care. There was no way to monetize it anymore. And suddenly, I don't know, people started meeting on the street, which just seemed absurd to me. And a lot of people, or relatively a lot of people, were saying, look, this movie influenced me like this, and it influenced me like this. And I'm saying, that's interesting. That wasn't at all from my perspective in that movie. Just everyone finds their own there.
It's somewhat related to our Czech nature, right? And there's that stupidity, actually. And everyone has a bit of exhaustion, and maybe that's why everyone finds their own there. By the way, in case someone was unaware, it is a movie that was directed by Zenek Kubik and is based on a true story. How true is it?
Following the conclusion of the Congress of the Communist Party of China, it was determined that Mao Zedong's work is 70% good and 30% bad. Hence, I would posit that it is 70% true and 30% a complete fabrication of facts.
In that case, you had an interesting life, even from 70%. I think it'll be an intriguing conversation. And before we get into it, you always acted a little incognito, a little like a secret character in the background. So I want to ask, when did it change that he started showing up, or you stopped minding going to interviews?
When they exposed me in the past in that extra without a doubt, it was a significant event, which belonged to Hansa Bata. He shot it quite well, relatively recently.
Okay, so we'll get to him. We'd be skipping a lot. Let's start with that movie. If someone hasn't seen it, Zdeněk actually said that you can watch it on YouTube. You just need to enter Checkmate Man, and the movie will come up. It's completely there. Maybe you can actually do it before you have our interview, so you're up to date. But even if you do it after the interview, I think you'll understand everything. It all started with Zdeněk, based on your 2-hour camera recording. You made some camera shots, some recording. You probably said everything there, the whole story, so I understood it. Then Tomáš Hozek, the director of the film, saw it, and thanks to that, he decided to go into the project. He said, I made such a citation here. I was fascinated by the colorfulness. However, then he let himself be heard, and that is strange. I quote, the man who consistently delivered overwhelming checkmate often accompanied us on the square. Wait, I'll just complete it. However, he spoke in a minimal manner during the filming, and it nearly bothered me. He is an incredibly inventive and creative person with lots of ideas. So, how much could you interfere with the script?
That is the way I am, so it is embarrassing for me to tell professionals how they should express their thoughts. So I simply stated that it was different. Well, that's an artistic license, or the dramaturge is like this, that it will be better and this, so I let it go. But as the shooting went on, and the more I saw, they were complete nonsense, which I am aware of how they were created. For instance, I have worked in reality in the operating room, but if you construct an operating room for a movie, you have 1 million pieces that need to be removed. In order to address the need, they decided to create a former morgue in the basement of the boiler room located in Bonya Sea, which incurred a cost of $30,000.
Jan Budaj plays you in that movie. Did you have a meeting together? Did you give him any advice before the shooting?
Budaj completely copied me perfectly. Really? That's how I really spoke, acted everything at that time. When we stood up after the filming and he started speaking just like me, we were like two copies, identical in every way. He's a great skier, but I believe at that time they also considered other actors. If they had chosen someone who wasn't older by about 10 years, he might not have been selected just because of his age. He played, for example, how they made those cakes.
But I only remember Medvedek with the cake. That's Machacek. Really? And what is the name of that actor? Wait, Irka Machacek?
Of course, Machacek.
Don't be crazy.
Sure, we considered that, and we thought that he is too old for that role, that it doesn't really fit. I think he wanted too much money. Now I get it, because like this, we said back then, Gigi, how much will you shoot for us, which was Jirka Jerton, recently committed suicide, so we can wash his ass.
2 is what black humor is like to him.
The most hilarious jokes were said on Spin Radio. At present, I have come across the tragic news that the producer Babo Vjesek has unfortunately taken his own life, and it is highly probable that his sense of humor played a significant role in his decision to do so. You idiot, I was driving, I thought I would have to stop. This is absolutely one of the best jokes I've heard.
If something happens to Denko Troshko, we can repeat it. We are very strict. No, we will definitely reach Babo Vjeskan because you have also invested money into it.
I poured money into it, but that's the only profitable product.
Let's leave it until the end. What I understood regarding your movie or the movie about you, Checkmate Man, you have never raced, you have never tamed in a container, and there has never been a Sharon, meaning the perfect lady.
I dated a beautiful Chinese girl, a real model, who was married. She was 18, a beautiful girl even for the Chinese, because usually white guys in China choose local ugly girls. But because the concept of beauty is different, they think they have a pretty girl, but all the white guys there have ugly girls. And I had a beautiful girlfriend.
The only white guy I had a beautiful girl.
And she was called Sharon, otherwise She-Hung, and the English name Sharon.
Maybe that's why she acted?
This is the solitary and exclusive one. I went through a profoundly distressing and debilitating period of severe depression. During that time, I didn't even shave because I had no knowledge of what it was. So I said, hey, please bring me 7 bottles of wine and something to eat here. Normally he brings me wine and I drank, and I just said...
And you expressed it as you lived. So that is a really cool copper.
And everything was recorded. Then someone arrived and initiated the process of writing, leading to a terrible mess, which was attributed to Bukowski. Which, just recently I came across someone, well, my uncle, supposedly, as if he wrote the script and said, what's his name, Bukowski, damn, that was a fucking mess. What Bukowski wrote, it was all damn homosexual. I don't want to be too explicit, you know.
Yeah, I'm curious about the camera recording, maybe more than the movie. I don't know if it's somewhere.
I've been hiding it for a long time.
You have it, of course.
No, I do not have it anymore. I destroyed it in some kind of fit because I really said things to myself there, everything that was on my mind.
If you upload it on YouTube, it'd get 1 million views immediately, you know?
I felt someone there in the forest.
Look, it certainly fits perfectly like a glove. When it comes to utilizing decent words, it is undeniable that Zenek has had a strong inclination for those boisterous prostitutes since he was a young child.
Everyone wants to have money. That's why it has such a response from people, because everyone says, well, now me too, because everyone likes money. Everyone wants to have money, and they have some kind of magical power over us, simply.
Clearly and honestly, you will only go so far, so, well, I'm afraid that still applies today, that actually not much has changed here, and it's a motto that has governed your entire life, or are you still following it?
It is simply a slogan. It was coined by Otok Lempij, an author from South Africa, who is also known for his expertise in creating advertisements, including the one in question. It's just a slogan. On the contrary, I believe that by doing this with contempt, one can achieve better results, with a better feeling and better outcomes. Certainly, if I had to make a choice, you can either deceive someone in this place, or you can engage in regular ethical business here and earn 50% of the profits here. So I will simply take 50% regardless, because it gives you a sense of satisfaction. However, it is nice, people enjoy it, just such a simple and catchy slogan.
It's simple, but they see it as just sitting there, I don't know, 8 hours a day at work. If I weren't an idiot, I would also be rich. That's what I meant, you see, and you said it, that's how it works. Let's start from the beginning. Where did the desire to get rich come from? Only I see it there, I don't know, parents were poor, or you had a poor childhood, so it started.
Yes, we were an extremely poor family. At home we had just a loaf of bread, salt, and my dad, who took care of everything. And actually, Mother, which I found out later, I did not know, she was donating blood just to have some food at all. Under the Bolsheviks, let someone tell me they weren't poor. Everyone had food. Not true. We had nothing to eat.
And besides, what did Dad do while Mom was donating blood and earning money?
Dad was employed as a maintenance worker, electrician, boiler operator, and he also worked in this capacity. However, I don't want to speak ill of my dad. I love him. It's just a fact that he doesn't bring home much money. And there were occasions, I do not even know the entire story. My mother did not want to discuss it. He left his family for a while, went to live somewhere else, and so on. And I just know what it's like to grow up in poverty when you have one pair of pants that look somewhat decent, so you wear them all the time, and your classmates have things from 2X.
Clearly, so that's where it came from. That's actually the very beginning of that desire, that craving, actually.
I thought that the beginning was natural to us.
Certainly, certainly. This irritability that began to manifest itself. In childhood in that film, now I'm talking about it, when you delivered newspapers, sometimes added an extra brick to make it harder. Is that really true?
That is indeed true. And obviously, but that brother who purchased the newspapers was undoubtedly well aware of it. Only at that time they earned such money in waste collection centers that you could only look. However, it is only after the fact that a person realizes that when they beg, they actually receive what they are asking for, and this realization dawns upon them. So, maybe now, if I could remember that word, I'll Google it. And as I'm used to Googling everything, my brain doesn't bother to deliver those words to me anymore.
No, never mind. Well, look, we'll actually get to that too. How many hours have you spent, or rather flown, at the computer? But in any case, it was necessary to scan, burn, scan, and get home. I purposely wrote down the exact sentence from that film. What other attempts have you made? I'll proceed gradually based on that movie. I saw robberies of telephone booths there. I saw cards there. He withdrew money for toilets. He played the harmonica in pubs. He even worked as a prostitute or companion for money. Now tell me what's true and what's not. All's true. He did all.
The cabins were amazing. I have fond memories. It sounds awkward and So for A, there was an attitude at that time. Whoever steals from the state is stealing from nobody. Take that booth, no matter when you acquired it, it consistently functioned and at no cost. So I was nearly like a janosik. And when there was a substantial amount of money in that piggy bank, there were 1,200 crowns in it.
Hey, I'm sorry for getting involved in this mess. I was as clueless as a child.
Yeah, sometimes when you really hammered into it, so I hammered like a screwdriver and broke locks.
No, just go in. Into that booth, and the coins were falling out of it. No, so I tried it too,
No, but it was necessary to take a screwdriver and unlock the lock for me there, right?
Up until now, you perceive you have knowledge.
It was extremely uncomplicated.
No, so the boxes are valid, and you said everything is valid, even the cards you bet on, right?
No, I had gambling, slot machines, cards, but it was not as big as it appeared in the movie. The portrayal in the film made it seem larger than it actually was. I engaged in playing activities while seated, such as playing gotes, for example, or I also provided it, but it is not something I perceive as significant in my life.
Okay, about that companion or prostitute, if we can say so, did the South American Minister of Culture also back you?
And someone from the Ministry of Culture, Cacciatore Garcia, but he still had a first name.
Yeah, so he's probably looking at us now, so he'll be absolutely thrilled.
So it doesn't matter anymore. And besides, he was there. There was some President Kolor, and he was like his horse. And when the revolution happened, his horse was no longer there, so politics works differently there too.
And maybe you didn't really care about it, like you didn't have any regrets about it, they just paid you well, and you were capable of everything. To some extent. Yes, when something went wrong, there was this stork character in the movie that was coming to your rescue and helping you get out of the difficult situation you were in.
Nonsense.
No police there, not a single one.
Such nonsense does not exist.
No.
I don't know at all. He probably fucked me the most there with transformation, as if this character...
Clearly?
Completely unnecessary, superfluous, unreliable, nonsensical character.
I comprehended that you have come across two highly significant individuals in the course of your life. Leg, somewhere in Blazinek, according to that film, and then JB him. In that film he calls himself JT. In reality, Honza Barta, you met somewhere in the United States of America. That is true. And he even came up with the idea to film that movie.
Yes, he pushed me into it. He pushed me into it for 3 years. Until he caught me once. He came to my house. I was there lying down, drinking. I actually lived in China until 2014. This was about 2 decades. He came to my house. I lived at Masarychka in an attic apartment. Pshita Producenta came to me. Filda Shvechovic. Fiala was like a dramaturg. And they initiated shooting immediately. He apprehended me while I was intoxicated, and I replied, "All right, let's proceed and carry out the task." Then I actually added a 7 to it. I gave them a 7.
7 million?
7M, or maybe 5.5 and 1.5 mim given by JB. That's just one thing. I said, look, I'll give you 1.5, 7. I'm done. I don't give a damn. I'm glad how it is. I don't want anyone to know. I don't want anything. So they came again and just talked me into it. I was able to pay for that movie and then just not show it in the cinema.
I'll ask the impact of these two characters on your life and if you're still in contact with them.
The shin is also known as the thigh. We were close friends with that. We likely influenced each other a lot. I influenced him. He influenced me. For a while, our paths diverged. He wasn't there at all. We didn't meet in Blazinek. He instructed me for broker examinations, and we were simply friends in the usual manner.
Did it have the same outcome with JBM then?
We met in the United States of America, but as per the movie, we encountered each other in an internet cafe at an undisclosed location. But it is true that I think I was the one who first mentioned the larger amounts of money that JB mentioned.
You also landed in jail, if I'm not mistaken. During when did it happen?
It was actually, I sat in 95, 96, but as a year only, it sounds like 2 years, but it was just a year from some November, 2 Novembers, for the crash with Jacques. He was known as Vanya, whose name was Smolik, a very famous person. A Khalil First League in Vinohrady, Zhishkov and me too. So one day we were hanging out and he said he needed to take care of something, so I took him to Vršovice and we didn't drive. And I used to operate a vehicle without a driver's license. I had a BAC of 0.4% and I even had some obtained from the police department. When they confiscated your driver's license back then due to it being torn, they provided you with a temporary card. So I was always riding with a commuter bike. And they discovered the getaway car on me, so that poor guy who sold it to me also had a share in it, so I actually had forgery of an official document. Feeling famished, I took someone's life. I have never had a chauffeur before. You are magnificent. So I managed to escape from it easily because I only served for a year. I gained knowledge in prison. English, fundamentals, economics. I recently created a timetable and attended classes at that location.
Paradox. Crime gave you more than school. No, yes. Is it? Because you did foundation, then fired from high school, right? Expelled from school, and you did everything in prison in 1 year.
No, definitely not. I just bought textbooks, time management, marketing, Kotler, basically everything I needed for my studies and personal growth. I already did it, established a school there.
When you left jail, did you already know where you wanted to go?
No, I didn't. Let us make use of the movie name. And hey, I definitely achieved success in this business venture that I have undertaken here. What do you want? I'll give you money. We'll start.
Clearly the leg earned money in the meantime.
So during that year, the leg actually made money. That signifies up until that point, I genuinely supported myself and everything because I earned money from a book stall. And all of a sudden I arrive and my leg is incredibly wealthy. Lexus, the most costly limousine in history.
How did he get rich so quickly?
Someone then told me that he was selling weapons to Hugoshka.
But I don't know truth.
But I don't know what the truth is.
However, it was certainly some mafo.
No, like it probably wasn't a normal job. Because at that time, in how those boxes are, so always wait, I need money, he came and here simply those packages. At that time, the biggest was 1,000. So he came, always went into the boxes, came out completely surrounded by packages of thousands. Well,
your contact as between you came to an end at some point after China, I assume.
No. I still occasionally came here, so I contacted him. I wanted to show off to him Look how much money I have now, and I will give you. You finance China, some money buzzed there too, so I will give you now every month how much you will need. So it took a couple of months, and after that, he sent me an email that made me extremely, incredibly angry, to the point where I was seething with rage. Simply, and that doesn't matter, I would have to go into details, so I simply sent him to hell, banned him, and I haven't heard from him since.
And now let's go back to how you came out, and he actually gave you some money for some business. So I still want to get to where the idea with China originated.
The idea with China originated because as a passionate consumer of pornography, I discovered that I had a preference for individuals of Asian descent. So I'm just saying, so I'll go straight to the source, well, and logically it will simply come out China, right? We had a shopping experience in the past, I can confidently say it now, and back then we had a shopping experience at Kmart, a popular retail store. And he said, but whatever you buy, I'll shoot it here, we'll make a big bang, they want to fire me anyway. So I recently traveled to Asia and searched for something that would have a genuine impact. And once we purchased such items from that TV commercial, for instance, when making that thing cost $2, it was sold here for $5,000, yeah.
So that was the start, and you went to purchase those items. Certainly, I went to that place.
Then we chose something, imported it, earned money.
He sold that sucker because he was at that place.
Clearly. And then I explicitly mentioned that, so let's take decisive action to capitalize on the vast opportunities and untapped potential in China. And that idea wasn't completely bad. We will set up an office in China to represent Czech companies there, because that office specifically, we're talking about the year 97, it was quite pricey, so a limited number of individuals could afford to have their own office. However, if a total of 20 companies donate $2,000 each every month, then I will be able to represent all of them. For everyone, it will look like they have an office in China, they will look big, and we will earn something. Unfortunately, all people showed up, which was great, so when you sell, we'll give you ropes as promised. So actually, we didn't get a single paying customer for this idea. Then comes Mr. Wong, who actually existed.
Also in that movie.
But it was different, naturally. Despite working with glass, Mr. Wong's primary occupation was as a land speculator. He was terribly perceptive. In China, the thing is that I will only go on my own. And you are renting it from him. Once it was a 30-year lease, then 50, then 70, and now I don't know for how long it is. And he fully rented an extremely cheap field somewhere with no infrastructure, but where he knew that something would eventually be there in the future.
In the movie, Zenek said you bought a glassworks in northern China to keep it out of sight properly.
And that's nonsense. Nonsense again. I don't know why they put such nonsense there when the truth is much more exciting after all.
Well,
this sibling acquired numerous hectares of land, which simply had a value that skyrocketed to be 1,000 times greater in an incredibly short period of time.
Clearly.
And I have somewhere around 5% there, theoretically, as of today, now still. Sure, so I was actually on the white mushroom, so to speak. So I was walking around everywhere like I was a partner, the white one from the West, but I was a complete zero there, you know. A simply inserted character in business? Sure. But I really had a share in that paper, like it was real, just that I don't even intend to demand anything, yeah.
Clearly.
And that man is a billionaire in the present day.
And he still lives in China.
Sure. Then we broke up again. You always encounter someone in life. Yeah, you will have something.
And hello again.
And you don't know about him.
How long did you live in China?
I lived there from 97 to 2014.
Wow, quite a long time. Didn't you want to settle there? Actually, do you have a Chinese woman there?
No, like I wanted to, but I never came across any suitable one. This difference in mentalities is huge, at least for me.
No, but you know the language, right?
Do it in that time. No, I'm so dumb. Like, I'll talk to them, yeah, but it's a nightmare, a terrible nightmare after 15 long years. Please proceed and make a right turn after the intersection. That was merely my speech and not an indication of my true beliefs.
And what occurred there that caused it to return?
Nothing went wrong. I just wanted to go back already.
Yeah, you got bored of it.
I can do it in a different way. What I do, I am what is commonly known as a nomad, it is called. I can be wherever I want. Now I have a family, of course, but without them I could visit Dubai and Singapore, the places I desire, as my work holds no significance.
Sure. And above all, you likely have it so centered that you don't care at all. You can look anywhere. Did they make up the fact that he came back from China empty-handed and was selling Rolexes somewhere in a pawn shop to make money?
It happened. That was actually the end of my partnership with my leg. When did he stop enjoying subsidizing it? Here I had to go back as I didn't have enough money for that stay in China.
You actually went to a pawn shop and sold, as the final valuable item, a submarinery for a grand total of 13,000 crowns, which was the last resort. Did you sell? And why didn't I know you, damn? What is its value?
That's 1 million. I don't know how many they have today. They might still be metallic. This is the max value. I don't know. And he gave me 13,000 and I said, so give it to me. Well, once upon a time...
Okay. And now, this is quite crucial, in China there was this idea that one could make money from those domains?
I came in 2001 from Krakow in the Czech Republic. I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I had a girlfriend there at the time, and I promised her that I would come back. So I have been here for a period of 9 months, searching for a Czech company that would be willing to send me back to China. I almost gave up, but it was great. Another pleasant experience with no mention in the movie, despite its significance. Suppose there was a scenario where a big foreign company, which was actively looking for a purchaser, was actually in need of finding a buyer for a certain segment of their business. And that manager of the purchase for some reason really liked me and desired my presence. And I used to go for interviews everywhere. I had a forged university diploma and high school diploma, and I confidently had everything. He said, great, so I'll take you. And I was supposed to do shopping for about 1.2 billion office supplies. Good. When you introduce yourself. With my contacts in China, you know. Here you can buy everything, for instance, right now on Tema, so it was back then in the past. Aha. That signifies in this place there is a pen available for purchase at a cost of 20 crowns, and over there for a price of 20 heller. Literally. Sure. So if I did not make a minimum of 5 balls per month, I would have no choice but to consider myself an absolute idiot. Ultimately, they made the decision not to take me there in the end because of my basic education. They had a requirement for notarized certification for everything, which I couldn't fulfill. And I didn't have those contacts back then. If I could just find some real ones. Today I would already make those contacts, right? Clearly, but it's actually a pleasant memory for me that there was someone at that time who liked me and believed in me, that I could be good at it. Well,
he likely had a hunch, but it didn't work out so well that you had to come up with domains.
No, in the meantime I discovered the company that actually sent me there, which was GM Electronics, currently recognized. If you engage in any activity such as soldering, nowadays they hold the position of being the largest in the Czech Republic. And they sent me there, and I saved them incredible money because they were buying everything there very expensively. So I was paid by the office some basic salary that I agreed on, and the only thing I agreed on is that I can do my business there. Yes, with their things, as if with their assortment, not with their things. All right, cool. And actually, I created my own website. In the end, I ultimately ended up with LED deals. At that time, a squadron from China was present, costing 5 cents. The absence of patent fees allowed for such a low price, although 2 patent fees would have been applicable otherwise. Despite its nominal cost, the squadron was sold for $1 or even $2 in this particular location. Basically, I earned my initial income from it, and then, for instance, following the weekend, I received such a large number of orders that I simply couldn't manage to handle them all. So I intentionally placed it there. I added an ad for our site, because advertising on the site reduces orders, as people will leave your business. And that's what I wanted, so I wouldn't have so much of it on Monday. And suddenly I realized, but that maybe earned me $3,000 a month. Just the advertisement. And that was just a small step towards domains, because I'm saying, so I'll make fake websites like I have these, so I'll make others similar, but there will only be pure advertising. In the end, it wasn't the essential part. The essential part of this business has shown that there are domains which individuals simply write, particularly Americans, are known to engage in this particular activity. When conducting a search, they enter the domain.com directly into the address bar of their browser.
Yes, I sat at one computer for 2 years, Weekend Delight, Christmas Slim, 8354 fake domains.
We had the majority of them. We initiated it with JB, and then we had a large number of them, and we possessed hundreds of thousands of those domains.
You even had calluses on your hands from computer mice.
Really?
Well, I have to say, he is quite cheeky. Hey, and it could not be accomplished with a clear head, correct? So alcohol and some cocaine, was it present, correct?
Later on, it was something, but I was satisfied with that booze. But with A, I enjoyed it more on that booze, and with B, you're braver with that booze. You know, after all, when a person is sober, they have more inhibitions and also more risk.
Yeah.
And simply one day someone deleted a lot of domains and didn't want to have that risk anymore, because there were legal risks of domains that I knew I would simply get back in a few months, and then I would just keep earning over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, over and over again.
Clearly. And how much did it earn then?
On this particular occasion, I would like to refrain from mentioning precise sums, but I am of the opinion that the highest possible amount would be, as an illustrative example, $20,000 per day.
I've recorded 100 men per year.
That would fit. In that movie, I actually asked what nonsense they were talking about there, and he said, well, it's like an exaggeration that is supposed to show that the main character has completely mentally collapsed and is talking nonsense.
Certainly, certainly, but in any case, it is not nonsensical that you invested a significant amount of money into it. Here I am again, maybe you mentioned it, $10 million you poured because you have too much money and don't know what to do with it. You beauty, it paid off for you to invest 10 mets, and it even yielded with interest.
Sure, then resell it, always pricier, but now you're buying those pristine domains, you fool. Yes, truly clean domains, single word. Which then, as an example, in the span of 5 years, where you solely have income, not, for instance, 300% per annum, but perhaps only 15% per annum.
Okay, but it is already similar to Escobar burying money in it gradually. You bury it, then I desire to bury it once more, and you will locate the spot where you previously buried it, and you are unhappy that you truly have no place to bury it any longer.
Because you simply don't know what to do with it.
And actually, how did you get into this state?
Once I was attending auctions, regular live auctions, where I was simply consuming beverages. Once there used to be auctions in Kontík in Prague, where you simply drink and wave that paddle and purchase domains, and it is an enjoyable experience.
Did he buy a domain in Babiš from you?
It's true, no. He bought the domain danes.cz from me like this. Surely he doesn't know me. Surely he didn't buy it, no.
Certainly he has individuals for that. However, people possess it, clearly.
And he adds there, and I can even wash Sukup's ass. I was actually someone on FB. I had a pretty popular FB, yeah. Aha. When did I actually start producing movies? And someone came there, look, I have a domain here today.cz, and I'll give it to you for $650. And I say, okay, that's good. So I bought it from him, and I immediately knew who I could offer it to. And I do not know, perhaps 2 months later, lawyers from Babiš were invited, clearly. Of course, you don't know that it's from Babiš, but you know that Babiš uses these lawyers and that it's one of the very alive. This multiplication was prime. Sukup, Babiš, just that Sukup is Shvorchak. Today it is already known. So sometimes I somehow understood it. So he promised that Sukup would never provoke and Babiš would extort. And even when I want 2.5 for it, no problem. Plus VAT. Okay, no problem.
Okay, they recently got married. You even possessed a domain twitter.com with 1 T. Allegedly you acquired it for $15,000 and subsequently sold it for a substantial sum of $250,000. Does it fit properly?
Observe, at that particular time, this newsstand was generating an unbelievable amount of money. Then lawyers started getting involved and gradually ruined it for all of us. But such a domain could easily earn you a monthly income of $10,000 to $12,000, right?
Is it true that, for instance, Twitter has 1.5 million monthly users? No, obviously. 1.5 million individuals click and you generate income from it.
And that is the thing. You have to accept this as a fact because it is actually so absurd. But you have to, once you see those numbers, you simply believe in that absurdity and then you accept it. Then you work with it as a fact that exists within the framework of your reality.
How to profit from human stupidity?
Who is actually the stupid one?
Not according to me, those people who unnecessarily tidy up, right?
I have a pretty decent story why it works. One man, somewhere we were drinking, he showed me where he found a Filipino woman. What Filipino hearts? And he was unable to, for the life of him, figure out how to write it correctly because Filipino has 2 L's and he couldn't grasp the proper way to write it down.
Yeah.
So he consistently found himself on a page that is a standard unattractive parking page where even a person with limited intelligence can perceive it. No, he said, it must be here. Wait for Mr. Kubik. And one of those domains was actually mine, so it unintentionally cost me about $30 when it was clicked. Do you understand it? So at that time I say, and he was a man who had an IQ of maybe 150 simply. Absolutely smart person, but it never occurred to him. So it's an exaggeration that it's a trade in human stupidity. And that's not true because those people aren't stupid. For me, I would never say about my customers that they are stupid in my life.
Anyway, what I don't understand at all is that despite the amount of money you ultimately earned, you couldn't actually enjoy the money until your friend, JB, but I mean Hansa Barda, advised you to do so because you have such a large amount of it. I don't understand it at all. If you can explain it to me.
No, I just kept collecting the money and kept buying more and more domains for it.
I'm more in the movie. That's what's shown.
It didn't occur to me that I should spend or this. I was a terrible jerk. Where are you going? One day I bought clothes for $1,000. And it seemed crazy to me. I'm a fool. And then I say, you idiot. And that was still at the beginning, so I was making $1,000 a day. Lost $1,000. Blamed myself. Said, wait, but now you'll earn it back in a day, so don't be so hard on yourself. But otherwise I spent nothing.
And now you know it? Or do you need someone to remind you again sometimes?
Look, indeed, once it commenced, it was impossible to cease or bring to a halt.
That's crazy, right? And for what, for instance?
I do not have any knowledge. I simply made an error for a meaningless reason. Maybe I resided in Kempinski, consuming champagne and engaging with immoral individuals on a daily basis. Oh my goodness. I could do as I pleased.
Okay, so how do you currently handle the money you earn? And what do you invest in to ensure a good return? Any advice on smart investments to avoid constantly dealing with rising expenses and determining what we can and can't afford? So we will leave it to Hero, and I will provide it as a bonus for those few individuals who support me and my work. You deserve it, Zenek. And I'll come back to the movie. Checkmate was sponsored by Mina. I assume you say that. 7 balls are still with them.
No, not anymore. I am the one who has it. It was that we split it with JB, right?
Really?
We'll have 14. So, yeah, and Jerka Jerkin said that the movie will be star 28. Then I found out that he filmed it when he was 18. But good, or divisible, he stated he would film a movie in 28, and he filmed and delivered it. So it was not entirely incorrect. In any other circumstance, you departed quite willingly and without hesitation. I have it in the story as well. Then simply conceal a multitude of things so that nobody catches sight of it. There is information. Look, watch. I actually had sex with Jeezy. I gave him a rating of 7, and he promised me that he believes there are some plots located somewhere in Holoshovice. And he took the money and put it into the Venetian Night. But he kept telling me, yeah, it's on the right track. I never had the chance to purchase those plots in the end. And he began lying, claiming that I gave my approval. On that day, my patience ran out, and I hired debt collectors to handle the situation with him, as I grew tired of waiting for a resolution. And there is an ass. He was a man who was associated with a tailor. We were friends. He was a really good guy, funny. And I do not wish to explicitly state the name with absolute certainty. And it transpired that Jerka had talent once again, that Jerka was able to learn from him and acquire new skills. No, I'm doing my homework. He managed to borrow it from him, but he got it back from him, and in my opinion, he sucked him dry, and then he kind of shivered with that drink. Because he had depression, severe diabetes, his third wife ran away from him, so he went somewhere into the woods, where he took all the insulin he had, and I don't know if he let the exhaust fumes into the car or this, and he didn't survive it.
Babu, did you also provide sponsorship for Shesky's expenses?
Babu Hreski, I don't like sponsoring because sponsoring means, or did you give an advertisement? No, sponsoring implies something you do not anticipate receiving a return on investment from.
Yes. And what was the business actually?
I always took it as a business. Even though stupid, it's really a stupid business, Czech film business. And then Dana Velakova came saying that she knows Zenek a little bit and that he has another idea that it could be like Sun Hay. So I say, yeah, great. So I met him and now actually a little bit of his movies, and this. Hello, Mr. Kubik. Here I brought you a few CDs so you can see my film work as if I didn't know it. I hope you enjoy them. Yeah. I say, I know you, sir, a little good, great. So he suggested it to me, and I say, good, let's take it, let's go for it. Jurtin talked about it again. I recall it vividly like it was today. I yelled at him in China saying, you idiot, don't do this to me at least.
Clearly.
And this movie resulted in a net profit of $40 million.
Back to you?
No, similar to the small company and Gigi, they messed it up, but at least it turned out to be a profitable movie when he refrained from talking about it.
Okay, and what about Czech Maman? Did it also return the money to you later or not? Never anything, not even a crown, never. Not profitable, was it?
No, that's the admission. So in everything, the admission fee, so the cinema owners take half, the distributor takes 10-12%, that leaves 38% of the revenue.
Sure.
However, the distributor takes a preliminary fee for which he pays for advertising, so he gave the distributor $2 million, so out of those 38%, he was supposed to get his $2 million, which he didn't even get. So the movie resulted in a net loss of $0.28 million.
And you set up that film company because when you made a promise to yourself that you would establish it and that you would produce 2 films on an annual basis.
No, what a life it was in Budapest once.
And which movies were those?
So we created Hranaje, then we produced a 3D recording, The Human White Carmen, also Propadak, while taking a high-quality look at the amazing world of 3D technology and exploring its endless possibilities. They, like 2 people, don't understand how they could mess it up like this. Such a cult film, sure. And it turned out to be such a mess. But at that time, I wasn't in a position to just say, I'll write it off. But I really wanted to say it, so this is just a shame. I don't intend to cut myself off. Not even the rich guy came to the premiere.
Hey, there was a lot of talk about a movie inspired by the cases, specifically Od Mrazka po Krejčíře, so I wanted to ask if it's a topic that interests you.
No, I am not interested. I am interested in it as an ordinary individual. That should have been the advantage, for example, to set me apart from others. The chess players were supposed to checkmate women. That was supposed to be. And it was actually back then I used to go to Sweet Paradise, to a brothel. There was a brothel mama. And we just always sat, drank, and she told me those stories. She worked as a manager of brothels in various parts of the country for 30 years. Those were stories that were not usable. And in the end, the climbers who were on the edge emerged. I do not know how it happened. So I gradually started to be disgusted with those movies, because if I did it myself, I think I would do it much better.
Okay, and you allegedly employed Iveta Bartoshova in some capacity. What was that?
It was a promotional gig. Actually, it wasn't about someone singing. It was also a pretty good ride with Iveta. But there was supposed to be, as they write, about Bartoshova, so I'll hire Bartoshova so that she sings the main song for us in the movie Hranaje. And I'll write about those edge lovers. And so it happened. No one else would have known about that film.
Sure, that's why Iveta Bartoshova...
That's why Iveta Bartoshova. They eventually betrayed me and didn't include their recordings. She sang, and she sang quite well. But it was, and at that time I even assisted her, then they transformed me into almost a monster, which was one of the factors why she took her own life, which is not true. Jesus Christ, she was in an absolutely terrible state. Likely depressed, who knows what. She was taking those pills, drinking heavily, just completely falling apart. And did you know her well? I spent quite a lot of time with her. Actually, towards the end, I don't know. Then we broke up, and then maybe half a year later, not even 5 months later, she committed suicide.
Yeah. I wanted to know if the series about Iveta, if you knew about it, maybe in the army, if it fits her personality.
Yes, I have not seen that particular one. I have not seen that particular one yet.
And sometimes in 2011 he said, half a year ago I was still snorting coke, now I'm abstinent and planning to build a retirement home.
No, in the end it didn't work out. Finally I sold the land and a gymnasium for some school was built there. Honza Habar introduced me to Hulinek, who was the Minister of Health, or former Minister of Health at that time. And he explained to me how this business works, and he said, look, if you want to provide only a retirement home and not afterwards, for example, subsequent care for those people who then become completely immobile. So it's kind of a pigsty because you'll have to kick those people out, and it quite discouraged me.
Yes, certainly.
But as I had everything planned, created, I was excited for the program, that I would do it just for those people, but I didn't realize they would slowly start leaving and what to do with them later, right? Clearly. And engaging in another LDNka and that would be excessively burdensome in conjunction with my foundation, yeah.
Do they call you the Chinese Schindler in China?
The reality is that I actually stumbled upon a foundation somewhere that was actively seeking children with a certain heart defect at a time when it was absolutely necessary to raise approximately $8,000 for the rescue of the child who would otherwise face certain death. Half of it had to be provided by the parents, and half of it was supplied by me, which seemed meaningful to me, so I just threw money there whenever they had a child, because it seemed to me like that. But then they sent me photos of how the children were growing up, but I didn't want to see that anymore. I had a positive sensation about it, I say, with hope that a new Hitler will not emerge from it in this particular location. But otherwise I believe it was fairly, like I actually transformed it into cash, life for money, and it appeared to me quite good. Not an investment, but rather good sponsorship.
Okay, so it actually makes sense that he was saving sick children with that money or millions of dollars, which is nice. That makes sense. I would now go to Hero Hero, still for a few last things, crucial things for those few people who support my creation and maybe don't know how to make money. This is actually how we say goodbye to you on YouTube with Zenek Kubik, and I want to thank you for your attention, and I really appreciate it, Zenek. Thank you for coming.
Hence, kindly grab the bottles and let us embark on our journey without any delay or hesitation.
So have a great time on YouTube, both you and the viewers, not only in spending money, but also in life. Put it down.
Thanks to you as well. Hope all works for you too.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a bunch. Have an incredible time on YouTube. Hi. Now don't forget to click on herohero.co and maybe you will find out how to earn some serious money from Czech Mayman. Hello, how are you doing?